What's up, my steel nerds of YouTube? Okay, so I watched a video today that was posted a few days ago by a really large knife tuber. And basically, in that video, he said that these knives right here are going to have to be stropped after just a couple cuts of cardboard. And, that they're just complete garbage. Now, I haven't been one that's been too gentle on these knives, and I've said from the start they're throwaway knives, but they're $5. Fact of the matter is, though, putting out misinformation like that is just not true. This knife will not go dull in 2 or 3 cuts of cardboard. That's completely untrue. And they're speaking it as fact. And again, that's absolutely untrue. I'm going to show you that in this cut test. While it's not going to hold edge for very long, it's also not going to just go dull after a few cuts. People saying stuff like that, it's just not true. And basically they're doing it because, if a knife doesn't have a known steel composition on it, then they're going to say it's garbage. And that, it's just going to go dull at the sight of anything that you got to cut. And that's not true. While these knives are absolutely poorly built, and I've said it before, all the YouTubers that put out videos about these being bug out killers and all that, that's crazy talk. It's a $5 knife. It's a good $5 knife, but it's only a $5 knife, and it won't ever be anything but a $5 knife. These knives are built to a price. They try to do a good job on it and give you a decent product for $5, and they did. But anybody that thinks that this knife is even close to a $30 knife is just wrong. It's a $5 knife. But the people that are saying, oh, you're going to have to take this thing to a strop after 2 cuts of cardboard. Well, yeah, that's not right. That's not going to happen. You're not going to have to take it to a strop after 50 cuts of cardboard. Now, if they're 10-foot long sections, yes. But I'm saying, this knife will definitely cut more than 100 feet of cardboard without going dull. Right now, I went ahead and sharpened this knife. I put a toneless 600 grit edge on it at 17 degrees per side. 5 passes per side on 1 micron diamond. It's super sharp, nice and toothy. As you can see, it's very sharp. Damn, that silicone's hard to pick newspaper up off of. Anyways, so we're going to cut test it. We're going to see what it does. These knives are 3CR in composition. I can tell you that for fact. I would assume they're probably, 56, 55, 56 HRC. So they're not gonna, hold edge very long, but they're also not gonna go dull instantaneously like it's being made out to be. And that is the typical steel snobbing type stuff that really annoys me. You get that really bad on Reddit. So many people do it. If it's not a powder steel or a composition that they know the name of, and they hear that name and they associate that with a premium steel. If it's not that, they shit on it and tell you how terrible it is and that it's going to go dull immediately, and you're going to be sharpening it, after every time you cut a piece of tape. Okay, that's absolute bullshit. Again, while it's a throwaway knife, it's a $5 knife. It is a throwaway knife. I don't care who says it's not. It is. It's poorly built. It's cheap. It's $5. It will never be anything more than a $5 knife. It was built to that price, and they give you the most they could for $5. That's it. It's not anything beyond that, and it never will be. Now, let's see how good this thing can do in a cut test. I'm going to assume, I'm going to probably say 150 feet. Now, there is one caveat. This knife is only on its third edge, and normally I don't like to test until 4 edges. So what I did is I put an edge on, cut it off, put an edge on, cut it off, put an edge on, and this is the edge that's going to be cut test. I would really like to have one more edge worth of steel removed, so I know I'm in unfatigued steel. But the fact of the matter is, it's annoying cutting an edge off of a freshly sharpened knife just to resharpen it and doing that over and over. So we're going to test it at 3 edges. By the feel on the stones, I did feel the steel get, a little harder with each sharpening. It just responded to the stone better with each sharpening. So the steel probably was heat fatigued from the factory sharpening, and would have done better if it was on its 4th edge, maybe even 5th edge. But we're going to call it at 3 edges, and that's where we're going to test it. So everything else is the same. 17 degree per side test edge, 5 passes on 1 micron per side, and finishing the steel at a grit that I feel is optimal for that steel. Being these steels have basically no carbide volume, so there's not much bite. It will go slick kind of quick, so I put a nice aggressive 600 grit Atoma edge on it, and that's going to give it about the best. That's going to give it about its best ability to actually cut. That's gonna give it about the best chance it's got at edge retention. If this only does 100 feet, then going to 1,000 grit would probably give you actually less than that, because this stuff's going to get slick very quickly. So let's see how long it cuts, and we'll go from there. All right, time to do the cut test. Okay, guys, so we did 204.8 feet, 205 linear feet of thin cardboard, single wall cardboard. And we was cutting, the cut area is from here to right there. So that is our cut area. It's probably about 9/10 of an inch, slightly less than an inch. And I'll show you the edge. It's just barely catching. I'm going to start to cut back here where the edge is fresh, but then I'm going to quickly go up into where, the actual cut where it is, which is right here. So start to cut, then we go right up into here, and as you can see, it's catching, but it's still sharp. It's still, look at that. It's not going to catch every time, which I don't want it to, because that would make calling the test tough. I just want it as soon as it'll catch, and catch a couple times out of it. If I do 10 cuts and it catches 6, for example, I'm going to call the test. There's a catch. I don't want to get it to where it does it. That was a catch. I don't want to get it to where it does it every time, because it's better to, I feel it's better to test or to stop the test as soon as it rips the paper. It's catching and ripping. This edge is still plenty sharp. There's nothing wrong with that edge right there. That's probably sharper than 90% of the pocket knives in people's pockets are. Yeah, and the coating actually did a pretty daggum good job. You can see that's the cut areas right there. Right there. Anyways, yeah, that edge is still perfectly fine. That does not need to be sharpened. Couple passes on a strop and it'll come right back to shaving. Now, I haven't been overly friendly on these knives. I've talked a lot of crap about them, but I also made sure to say in each one of those videos that if you go to Walmart and you pick one of these up for $5 or the orange one for $10, that's a great deal. There's nothing wrong with this knife for $5 or $10 for the other one. They're a great knife for that price. Just don't pay more than that. Don't pay $20, $30, $40, $50 on eBay for them. That's silly. It's a $5 and a $10 knife. That's it. But I have always said that for the money, these are very good values. They are a throwaway knife. Don't expect too much out of them. Don't expect them to last forever. Don't expect them to hold an edge forever. They're not gonna. But if you use it as a knife, you're not prying with it. You're not putting tons of lateral load on the handle. This knife is going to last you for a long time. The lock on these has stayed solid, and I've sat and flicked this thing a lot of times just to make sure that there's not going to get no wear in there and things are going to start to get loose. Their lockup is great. That wiggle you're seeing is actually the frame bending, the scales bending. If I go here, there's very, very little side-to-side play. There's no up and down play. Action is good. It locks up tight. For $5, this is a great knife. Is it something I would carry? No, I wouldn't, to be honest. But there's nothing wrong with this. If you can pick one up for $5, by all means, get it. And what's funny about this is Gerber 3CR typically goes about 170 feet. So this outdid, and that goes for the Gerber and Kershaw 3CR at 150, 170 feet. That's usually about where it does. I have seen some do maybe 120, 130, but typically 150 to 170. And this did 204. And as you can see, that edge is definitely not dull. I'd say the average person walking around with a pocket knife in their pocket, this knife right now, that area that just did this cutting is probably sharper than the knife that's in their pocket. And most people, if you put this knife in their hand and they touch that edge, they're going to say, yes, that knife is sharp. And it is. Like I said, a couple passes on a strop, it'd come right back to shaving. Anyways, I've held y'all long enough on this knife, but I just got tired of hearing that and then reading the comments and seeing people just, telling others, like, you're going to make a cut with this, you're going to do a couple cuts and you're going to have to resharpen it, or if you get one of these, you better love sharpening, or you're going to have to strop it after every cut. And it's just annoying because it's not true. It's people literally just spreading bullshit. And hell, most of them people that are saying that, they don't use their knives anyways. They don't do anything to dull their knives. What, cut a piece of tape with it? But the fact of the matter is, the one that's running the channel, a very, very large channel, you know who I'm talking about. One of the biggest channels, if that tells you who I'm talking about. And he's not somebody I dislike or like. I'm impartial, but him telling stuff like that, you know, after a couple cuts of cardboard, you're going to have to strop it. That's bullshit. Like, as you can clearly see, that's a whole bunch of cuts of cardboard, and this knife still doesn't need to be stropped. It's plenty sharp still. There's just a couple little catches that's just enough to tear the paper. He shouldn't be saying stuff like that, because there are people that can't afford to go buy, they can't afford to go buy a $30 knife. Say they're on a fixed income and they don't have $30 to spare, but they do $5. Now that person's going to sit there and feel like either they've got a knife that's not worthy, or they're not going to buy it because they think it's just total crap and a complete waste of money, when that knife would serve them perfectly well. It's easy for big YouTubers to talk crap about lower end steels or lower end knives when they're not paying for the stuff that they're getting. They're getting $400, $500, $600 knife after $400, $500, $600 knife, one after the next. They're not paying a dime for that, and they're turning around and making money on it. So it's real easy for them to shit on lower end knives. But the fact of the matter is, they're wrong. Not always. Now, I don't want that to come off as me saying that they're just always wrong. That's not what I mean. I mean, in this case, that is completely wrong, because he wasn't saying that as in, tongue in cheek. He was saying that literal. You're gonna make a few cuts with it, and you're gonna have to strop it. Yeah, no, that's not right. And then again, you go down into the comments, and guess what? It's just steel snob after steel snob, and all they're saying is, they're telling people. You see people saying, "Hey, I think it's a good knife. I like mine," and then there's 20 comments under that saying, "Well, I hope you like sharpening. It's that steel's so poorly done. It's such garbage that it won't stay sharp for a second." But it's just you know what it is? I'm going to watch my language, but it's effing annoying. That's what it is. If you only got $5 to buy a knife, and you need a knife, and you can get one of these, this is a damn fine knife for $5. Don't pay more than $5 for it. But if you can get it for $5, and you just need a simple cutting tool, this is a value. If you go back and look at my earlier videos, I was super harsh on it. Now, I never said, oh, you're going to have to sharpen it after one cut or 10 cuts. I said that it would work. And it will. Don't expect too much from it, and you'll be good. It's a $5 knife. Expect better than $5 knife worth of performance out of it, and you'll be happy. But don't expect $50 knife performance out of it. Anyways, I've wasted enough of y'all's time. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I wish some of the YouTubers would stop throwing out misinformation. And I really wish the steel snobs would stop. Enjoy y'all's knives. Have fun. Have a good day. And I'll see y'all later.